Spanning 1914 to 1918, the First World War was a devastating watershed for the 20th century. Huge armies deployed new weapons to devastating effect. Empires crumbled, revolution engulfed Russia, and America rose to become a dominant world power. By the war's end, an estimated 16 million soldiers and civilians had died, with countless others physically and psychologically wounded. Its shadow looms large to this day. But there are a few moments of hope that shine out from those dark days, none more so than the Christmas Day Truce of 1914. And there are examples of similar smaller ceasefires in earlier conflicts dating back to the American Civil War, but nothing before nor since matched the scale of the Christmas truces. Sworn enemies putting down their weapons to exchange gifts and have a friendly kickabout. But what really happened that day, and how did it come about? The First World War was a global conflict fought on many fronts, across Eastern and Southern Europe, Africa, and the Middle East, but is typified by the consciousness at the Western Front and trench warfare. And it was these very particular, grim, monotonous, and muddy circumstances that set the stage for one of the most unlikely of wartime interludes. The heavy firepower and early heavy casualties of fighting along this front led to soldiers digging into positions to protect themselves from a sustained volley of bullets. The entrenched positions led to stalemate, with artillery and explosives developed to blast the enemy from their positions. By the time winter approached in 1914, it was still early in the war, but it had been suitably grueling for each side to bed into their trenches for the winter. Many had expected a swift victory. Instead, the war had become a miserable grind. Long days with not very much happening. Countless soldiers were living in misery in the trenches on the fronts, while tens of thousands had already died. But then, Christmas Eve came, and a chance to break the monotony. Grimly holding position in their trenches, each side was low in morale, but the festive spirit had been kindled with gifts sent from back home such as chocolates and cigarettes. The Germans started singing Stille Nacht. Now, the Allies may not have recognised the words, but they knew the tune, Silent Night. And then the British troops joined in, and soon, tentatively, they were meeting and exchanging greetings in no man's land. The pause in fighting allowed each side to bury their dead, share a moment of empathy in all the misery and madness. Good faith established and a willingness to share a moment of peace, Christmas Day 1914 saw small pockets of French, German, Belgian and British troops hold impromptu ceasefires across the Western Front, with reports of some on the Eastern Front as well. The men exchanged gifts, chatted, and most iconically, had a game of football. One British fighter named Ernie Williams recalls the moment. The ball appeared from somewhere, I don't know where. They made up some goals and one fellow went in goal and then it was just a general kickabout. I should think there were a couple of hundred taking part. German Lieutenant Kurt Zemisch of the 134 Saxons Infantry, a school teacher, describes the game in his diary. Eventually the English brought a soccer ball from their trenches and pretty soon a lively game ensued. How marvellously wonderful, yet how strange it was. Thus Christmas, the celebration of love, managed to bring mortal enemies together as friends for a time. Well, the German and British soldiers didn't always have a ball. Instead, they improvised. On certain sections of the front, soldiers kicked around a lump of straw tied together with string, or even an empty jam box. According to letters and diaries, many of the passes went wildly astray and shot off the icy pitch. The soldiers used sticks of wood, their caps, and steel helmets as goalposts, and the games lasted about an hour. The sleep-deprived players then collapsed, exhausted. Now, the frequency of these games across the whole of the front is logistically questionable. The land between the trenches was often torn up from gunfire and shrapnel and covered by bodies lying in no man's land or flung onto barbed wire. And the reports of football matches didn't come out of every regiment. Most soldiers didn't report participating in matches. Instead, they met with their enemies in no man's land and traded a variety of goods while attempting to engage in conversation with them. Of course, military leaders on both sides of the conflict were enraged by the apparent softening of attitudes. But it wasn't just generals who put paid to any further men-led truces. In the war years that followed, British poet Robert Graves, who fought, suggests why the truces were never repeated. Warfare had grown impersonal. The desire to wage it quite personal. Today, a memorial stands in England's National Memorial Arboretum commemorating the Christmas Truce. It was dedicated by Prince William of England. On the 100th anniversary in 2014, the British and German Army soccer teams staged a friendly match in England in remembrance of the soldiers' impromptu football game in 1914, and the British team won 1-0. Now, as stories go, the Christmas Truce has been embellished, focusing on the friendly kickabout over the burying of the dead, but stopping a war to play football is just too enduring an image. It speaks of who we want to be, of nostalgia and fair play, of gentlemen's agreements, and, most importantly, the power of football to unite.